Today I'm super excited to share with you a brand new camera on the market from Sony, and it's called the ZV-1, and it is predominantly a camera for vlogging. Now vlogging isn't my normal game at all, it's not what I'm into. In fact, I've come to just nowhere, basically, the back of a field so no one can see me doing this. But actually I got this camera and I was pretty excited. Some of the features on it are really cool. It is aimed at that audience who are currently a huge percentage of vloggers actually who are using mobile phones. And this camera's there to try and help people elevate their videos, go to that next level, make it easy to do so. But also for people who want to learn a bit more about video, they can do it with this. So I'm heading home now from my evening walk and I'm going to tell you a bit more about what this can do.
So here it is, vlogging camera extraordinaire, the Sony ZV-1. It's a pretty exciting camera to come to market, something a bit new for Sony and actually something a bit new for the market. We often see cameras that say, oh, and they'd be great for vlogging, whereas this is a camera that's for vlogging and you can do other stuff with it. So pretty excited to try this out. For my first few tests, I'm quite impressed with how well it works actually. Now, this camera internally is running a 1-inch sensor, so a nice big sensor in there, bigger than you'll see in any mobile phones, which means it's going to be good in low light situations. Sony are saying it's comparable to the RX100 Mark VII. They're not saying it's the same, but it probably is. It's got a Bion ZX processor. It's one of the latest ones, same one that's in the Sony A9 II, so we know that's going to be super powerful and allow this camera to work really quickly and have some good functionality. Now externally, we have a nice grip, easy to hold, it's lightweight, weighs under 300 grams, and we've got a flippy out screen. Now, any screen that comes up and above the camera is annoying because when you've got a hot shoe like a dead cat on, or you want to use a microphone on your hot shoe, it's in the way, you can't see it properly, whereas a flip out screen is really nice. You can always see what you're doing, which is great. Now, I've alluded to this dead cat on top of the camera. That does come with it. It's in the box and it just slides onto the hot shoe. Sony have used all of their sound technology in creating a really good internal mic on this camera. The internal mic sits here, right on the top of the camera, so that you get the least wind noise possible. And it's a it's got 3 capsules and it's directional, that microphone. So basically you have one microphone pointing left, one right and one forward, and they've sat it right in the middle of the lens so that whatever you're looking at, the stereo sound coming through your headphones should match the picture that you're getting. Now the lens is pretty wide. It's a Zeiss Vario Sonar T-Star, so really good quality optics, and it's only about a 2.7 times optical zoom, so you don't have much zoom going on, but realistically for a vlogging camera you don't need much. The important thing is that it's nice and wide at the wide end, so that when you're vlogging, yes, people can see your face, but they can also see what's going on around you, which is obviously what a lot of vlogs are about. There are also a couple of custom functions on the body as well, which I'm going to come back to. In terms of ports, we've got a microphone port, we've got a micro USB port, not USB-C, but micro USB, and you can charge the camera through that, and it charges really quickly as well, which I tested last night. And we've got a mini HDMI in there as well. We've got a battery in here. It's the BX1 if I remember rightly. Yes, the BX1, so tiny little battery. So if you want to, you could obviously have a portable charger with you, or you can just carry a few of those because let's face it, they're not exactly very big. They're going to be much smaller than a portable charger. So what about inside the camera? What makes this a vlogging camera on the inside? Well, Sony have got the sensor on there, has 315 phase detect autofocus points, and they are spread quite evenly across a lot of the sensor, which means that if you're tracking a subject, your sensor should pick it up. It'll be really nice and fast. Phase is good for that, and it's also great for eye detection AF. Now we know that Sony's cameras have fantastic eye autofocus, and all of that technology is feeding into the ZV-1, which means that it's really accurate. The first few times I've used it, it's been fantastic. Just locks onto my eye every time, whatever one I want. I can set it for left or right eye predominantly, or you can just have it auto to switch between. So that's really good. I think it does have animal autofocus as well on the eyes, maybe to take some nice pictures of your pets or do some nice videos with your puppy outside as well. So the other cool thing that this has is auto exposure for skin tone. So this is really, really cool. It's not something we see very often, and it is a big problem with vlogging. So quite often you'll be walking through London or whatever, you walk under a bridge and your metering goes all over the place. Now with this, it picks up your skin tone, registers your skin tone in different lights, and it will automatically adjust the exposure in order to have the perfect, your face basically, the perfect exposure. And they've registered this with loads of different races and skin tones from all over the world. So it should be completely inclusive in terms of how well it works. For anybody who knows a bit more about video out there, you can even get S-Log2, S-Log3, loads of different picture profiles in there. So if you've maybe already got an A7S, 1, 2, and you're shooting in S-Log2, and then you want to go and get like a B cam to take loads of footage when you're walking about the house or when you're out, then you can shoot an S-Log2 on this, and you could obviously match up the profiles. Now, on the externals of the camera, we've got 2 custom function buttons, which I said I'd come back to. So they're pretty exciting. There's one on the top here, and that's called the bokeh button. When you press it, you go from having a nice clear background to having a nice defocused background, that really aesthetic look. And I think that's what we see a lot on a lot of YouTube videos, we see on a lot of Instagram videos. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and I think it shows that you're using a camera with a bit more clout than a mobile phone, because most mobile phones can't do this. They can do a defocused background for photography, you know, some of the portrait modes that you see coming out some of the iPhones and Samsungs now are stunning. However, defocused background in video is very difficult to do. I think there's only one Samsung that currently offers it, and it's very computer-based and not very aesthetic. Whereas from this, it's really lovely. So that's something you can turn on and off really quickly. You can also, on the back here, C2 is defaulted to be a product specialist mode. So a lot of vlogs, you know, you'll see someone, they'll have whatever, and they'll put it up to the camera and try and get the camera to quickly focus on it. And they'll often have to put their hand up, you know, you see people doing this to try and focus on a product because the cameras take ages to autofocus on it. Whereas this has a specialist mode, and as soon as you press that button, although it'll autofocus on your eye, it will then notice if something's in the middle of the screen and it will count that as a priority, and it will autofocus really, really quickly. So I decided to do a little test with this on some sort of just bits and bobs from around my house. So see what you think. From my first little testing, I've been pretty impressed.
Now we've moved to the lounge and we're back filming on the ZV-1. So you may have noticed a change in the audio. That's because we're back using the internal microphone on the ZV-1. I really want to show off what that can do. Now I started recording using this, which is a little Bluetooth remote and also doubles up as a tripod. Also a selfie stick if you want to use it as that. You can start movies, press photo, zoom in or out, and you even have a C1 button on there, so you can set that to whatever you want, but as default it's that bokeh button. So I'm going to be playing with that a bit later. It's called, very catchy name, the VPT2BT. I'll put a link in the description. It's not catchy at all. It took me a while to remember it, but for now what I want to be focusing on is the product showcase mode. Really excited to try this out, to be honest. So I've pressed C2 on the back of the camera, so it's on now, and actually you may have got a little sneak peek when I was holding this up that it seemed to be working pretty well straight away. So I've got some little things in front of me that I've nicked off my bookshelf, and we're going to see just how well it focuses on them and if it sort of recognises exposures as well. So I'm going to start off with a nice easy one. In terms of lighting, I've got some sun coming through the blinds behind me. I have tried to close it up, so I hope it's not too distracting. Got some fairy lights and stuff going on there, and then I've got an Interfit bi-LED ring light in front of me, which is kind of great for vlogging or doing beauty videos at home, that sort of thing. Not what I use it for, but would be good for that. And it's got a little hot shoe or a cold shoe mount on there, and I've just popped the ZV-1 on that, so I can see exactly what's going on. I've got the screen to the side, which is why you might see my eyes dart off. Just make sure everything's going okay. So let's start the test. I'm going to start off with some chili oil. It's an easy one to expose on, so I'll lift it up. Wow, that was quick. Oh my god. So quick. And I'll do it a bit further back as well. Really good. That worked so well. Okay, next up we've got a little miniature bottle of whiskey. Really smoothly pulling the focus. I bought this when we were doing a Zeiss lens test in Scotland, so make sure to check that out if you've got some time. That looks great to me. So things gonna get a bit harder now. I've got a little rubbery banana, and I'm gonna hold that up. It's quite a bright colour, quite light coloured, so we'll see how it deals with that exposure change. So I'll hold it up. Yeah, it does change the exposure there, can you see? So here it's adjusting for my skin, lift it back up, just slightly darkens it, but not by much. Makes it quite smooth actually, I think, the way it does that. Almost like you're changing an ND filter. Nice, really nice. Okay, so next we have some Ilford film in a white box. So it's got some dark text on it, but I want to see how it deals with those whites. So let's try this. Yeah, again, adjusted it so you could see the text. And then smoothly brings it back to my skin tone auto exposure. It's really impressive. Okay, and then last up, we've got this little clay figure. So I made a little clay photo frame thing out of white clay specifically, and I want to see how it deals with this because there's not that much definition on this. It's awkwardly shaped, it's not very big. So let's see how it deals with this. So I'm going to start off doing it a little bit further away. So the focusing is fine, the exposure on that is a little bit harder. You can see it darkened it a little bit, but not too much. Now if I put it right up to the camera, straight away it exposes it and focuses. The exposure is, can you see, it's gentle. It doesn't do it too quickly, it's quite gentle. Sorry, I'm watching it on the screen. It's quite gentle, doesn't overdo it, but it is working really well, that actually. I'm super impressed. I can't believe how well that's worked. What if I hold up two things? Bring one away. Does it know to? Yeah, it does. So hold that up, put that up, bring one away. It's not hunting for my eye. So it's not just based on the movement, it actually recognises that. That's really good. That worked amazingly well. So what I'm going to do now is attach our Bluetooth tripod thing and head out for a walk and try that background defocus, that bokeh button, because I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be a really popular little feature. So let's head out. So something I've noticed whilst out walking tonight is how good this seems to be at dealing with rolling shutter in video. So I'm just going to flip it round onto these trees here. So if I turn it here and pan a bit, you can see there's very little in the way of distortion. You get a bit when you move faster, there's a bit of rolling shutter there. But when you move like in a normal panning motion, there's barely anything. I think that's actually quite impressive for this size and style of camera and the bracket it is in the market. So cute. So whilst walking up to the tunnel, I thought this would be a really, really good time to test out the bokeh button. So behind me, you can see all the trees and stuff. I'm quite far away from the camera at this point. Arm is fully extended. So I'm going to press the button now. And there we have a defocused background. It's pretty good. It's quite dark out, so the camera's definitely got less to work with in terms of aperture and stuff like that. So if I take it off again, clear background and defocus background. So now the next thing I'm going to do is move myself a little bit closer to the camera. So now I'm a little bit closer. Sorry, you're seeing so much of my face. Now we'll click and defocus background, much more obvious straight away. I was just checking it out in the screen there, but you can see it's much more obvious the closer you are to the camera, of course, makes total sense. And clear background. Yeah, so if you want to vlog and be kind of like here and really defocus that background, I think that actually works pretty nicely. So I'm at the railway tunnel. I'm just about to walk through, getting the last bit of light before I do so. So this is the test for the face auto exposure. So let's walk in. It's pretty dark. Now you can see it's picking up my eye still, it's lightening my face. You can see that background's now really overexposed, and as I move towards the light, I come out the other side, it's just darkening everything down again. So it does work really, really well actually. That's a really good test. It's pretty hard for the camera to do that, and it worked really, really well. So again, another big tick for this camera. Before it gets too dark, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the stabilisation within this camera. So we have optical stabilisation because the lens is floating. We have electronic stabilisation that they've inbuilt. You can turn that off, you can have it as standard, or you can have it as active. So what I wanted to do is just give you an idea of how good they are. So at the moment I've got it off. So I'm probably a little bit juddery. The ground here isn't great as I'm walking along. And what I'll do is I'll just do a little bit of a run, or my attempt at a run, so you can see what it looks like. I've now switched it to standard stabilisation. So what we see here is minimal crop, in fact barely any. It's just enough for the electronic stabilisation to do something. And it does seem like it's working quite well. I'm checking it out on the screen. Looks pretty stable. But again, I'll do a little bit of running and see how it looks for you. So here we go. A little bit more running. Okay, so now we're in active mode, and you should be able to see two noticeable differences. One, should be pretty stabilised, and two, big crop on this, because it is made for a lot more activity. So the run on this should look a lot more stable, so let's give it a go. Although my head is bouncing out of frame a lot because of the crop. Oh. Very out of breath now. Enjoy walking, not so great at running. No, not my strength. You can just see our little local herd of deer in there. 2.7 times optical zoom doesn't do much for spotting things like deer, but you can just about see them. I mean, we are at ISO 5000 currently. Probably isn't helpful. Getting some beautiful light for sunset here. So as you can see now, we've really lost the light. Sunset was about 45 minutes ago. So what I've done, instead of being in intelligent auto, which just does everything for you, I've swapped it to program mode. And that basically means the camera is deciding the shutter speed and the aperture, but I can decide the ISO, and I can also mess about with the EV compensation. So what I've done, because it is darker now, I want this bit of video to look a little darker, and I find cameras sometimes when they're in auto and things are getting darker, they try and make it look brighter than it actually is. So I've put it at 0.7, minus 0.7 on the EV compensation, left the ISO on auto, and actually, as you can see, it's dealing with this light situation really, really well. The camera's running at ISO 800 now, just looking at the settings it's stuck itself on. And that is the beauty of having a 1-inch sensor, basically, because when you're vlogging in kind of low light like this, it still deals with it really well and you get really lovely footage and colours as well.
Now before wrapping up, I wanted to get a bit more footage with the ZV-1, so we headed out at first light. These clips are all shot in S-Log2 and then graded. I also took some shots of these lovely horses in a standard profile. And I don't know about the laughing cow, but I think I might have found the laughing horse. If you're into creating Insta stories, the ZV-1 will also happily shoot in portrait for video. Lastly, it was time to show off the slow motion capabilities of the ZV-1. This clip is shot at 250 frames per second, output in 50p. This is recorded at 500 frames per second, outputting 50p. And this one is 1000 frames per second at 50p. If you prefer to take some stills of the action, it can shoot 24 frames per second for up to 172 frames. And the stills capability of the ZV-1 is actually just as impressive as the video, thanks to that fantastic sensor and high quality Zeiss lens. So that has been the Sony ZV-1 vlogging camera. It's a pretty cool, exciting piece of kit actually, I think. It's mega powerful, incredible internals, it can do so much, but I like that Sony have put in some features in there where it just comes to you ready to go, you know, including that dead cat in the box, the flip out screen, the fact that you can put an external mic on if you want to. It's a really lovely design, and actually ease of use and usability and wanting to use a camera is so, so important, because I think if it's a camera you want to use, you're so much more likely to make memories and capture things that maybe would slip by you if you didn't have a camera that you just love to play with. And actually, I think I'm probably going to personally try and get one of these, because I think it'll be absolutely fantastic for, you know, when holidays are back available to us, and, you know, for just daily life. I think it'll be a bit of fun. So it's a big thumbs up from me for this one. But if you want to know more about it, because obviously we can't cover everything in these videos, make sure to pop onto the website. There's loads of information on there about this camera and the rest of the Sony range. You can also give us a call or send us an email, or put a comment here and we'll try our best to get back to you with all the information that you could need. And if you want to see more from the Sony range or anything else that we've been doing, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, and you won't miss a video. Thanks for watching.
Oh, it's on Zoom. Oh.